Hi, my name is Jay Reed. I'm a psychotherapist in San Francisco, California, and today I'd like to talk about what you can do when your narcissistic mother did not deserve a holiday. I'm recording this on Mother's Day 2020, and I think it can be particularly important to discuss this for those who've had the misfortune of being raised by a narcissistic parent, in this case a mother, when the culture at large very much celebrates the way motherhood is intended to be, and generally speaking is. Not as though there are other mothers who are perfect, but the preponderance of mothers likely fit the criteria of good enough. But for those who've been born to someone who is characterologically narcissistic, that is far from the case for them, and there's a very different sort of reality that particularly an adult survivor of a narcissistic mother faces when these holidays come around. And I'd like to generally discuss some of the features of that separate reality today, just to hopefully kind of offer some resonance with what it can be like to go through this kind of a day, and to sort of hopefully convey the sense that there's nothing peculiar or strange about feeling these ways, and also hopefully to add a sense of community, that there are very much other folks going through that same type of challenge on these days, and then just quickly offer some potential tactics for how to approach and deal with a day like today, that sort of shift your own sense of importance towards yourself, rather than what it likely had to happen with this kind of a mother, shifting all the importance over to her. Because when someone is narcissistic like this, they insist, both implicitly and explicitly, on being the most important person in that household. But this is a day to sort of act in defiance of that too. So I'll just offer a few possible tactics along those lines. The crux of growing up with a narcissistic parent is that you are simultaneously deprived of the kind of just rightful amounts of attention, respect, love that you are due, and often sort of on top of that met with hostility, blaming, derision, and belittlement if you have the misfortune of being seen as a threat to the narcissistic parent's defenses. And I'll just focus on the mother for today, but on the narcissistic mother's defenses of believing she's just inherently more important than others, and expecting that others comply with that artificial sense of importance. And those are the defenses of grandiosity and entitlement, which I've discussed in other videos, and those are there in order to keep that narcissistic person away from their own very core sense of worthlessness. But what the victim, in this case the child of, say, a narcissistic mother, has to suffer is both that deprivation and repeated injuries to their sort of selfhood, with no way to have those, to have the deprivation and the injuries addressed. I'm sure many children of such narcissistic mothers, if they ever complained about how they were treated, were likely met with, "Oh, you're being too sensitive. Oh, you are just so self-absorbed and wrapped up in what it is that you want. You cannot think of others," or something like, "Oh, you think the world revolves around you." So you're suffering, and then your attempts to protest are met with invalidation, indifference, and a lot of times to pathologizing. Pathologizing is sort of to claim that the other person has some sort of defect or disease. And that can be a very insidious sort of thing that can happen in a relationship when one person's trying to sort of pollute or convince the other that their own mind is wrong, polluted, not to be respected or taken seriously. And all too often a narcissistic parent will respond to their child, who's actually seeing things quite accurately, like, "Hey, I'm not getting what I deserve," with this kind of pathologizing response that can be can be devastating for the child in their attempt to feel a sense of integrity with themselves and value and sense of their own importance to themselves. When Mother's Day comes along, you sort of, this dilemma gets writ large, right? Because you sort of have the culture wide celebrating what, in fact, most mothers have done for their children, and they are to be applauded and deserve all the credit that they are due. For the child of a narcissistic mother, though, it again replicates that dilemma because, depending too whether your narcissistic mother is still alive or not, there will likely be a pull from her, a very strong one, a coercive one likely, to be exalted, praised, held up high on this day, and to sort of deny the way she sort of actually was to you, the child, as if that doesn't matter, or those ways of being cruel or neglectful were sort of what the child deserved or you deserved for being so bad or unable, unlovable, or whatever it may be claimed, or that her attitude may convey. So it can create a similar sort of pressure within for the survivor of her abuse of, well, do I sort of leave what I know to be true within myself and sort of join the parade that seems to be quite big and loud of like, hey, what, aren't mothers great? Or do I stay true to kind of what I know, how she really was, and how aberrant that was to my friends and partners who are celebrating their mothers? And if you stay true to that experience, it can often feel estranging, as though there's something weird or different about you for not praising your mother the way the people around you are. And I really want to impress today that there absolutely is nothing wrong with anyone who's in this boat. That very much is not something that you nor anyone deserved as a kid. And if you're still in the process of grieving what that was like, or first of all, I should say, if you're still in the process of knowing what was done by having a narcissistic mother, that is to be respected. If you know what happened and are working towards grieving that, then those reactions of grief also are to be respected. And it is, often it is likely that maybe they're counter to the sort of the zeitgeist of Mother's Day. And I guess I'd just like to say that is okay. And very understandable, and I would argue very, very valid. So the pressure to sort of honor thy parents that is so present on a day like this really needs to be counterbalanced if you've suffered through a narcissistic mother with your own truth of I happened to be born to a mother that does not deserve this praise, and I was treated in cruel and depriving and unloving ways, and that is as true as if a mother was generally speaking good to their parents, that she deserves credit. And I just want to add too that if your mother qualifies as what I've described an altruistic narcissist, where her sort of inflated sense of self-importance is based on the appearance of being very caregiving, then that can pose a particular challenge on Mother's Day, because their claim to being exalted on this day will likely be very, very intense, and the sort of tactics of, well, look at all I did for you, will likely be in very long supply. But I guess I kind of laugh, or I don't know, something comes over me when I think about the altruistic narcissist on days like this, and I think it's because it's just such a ruse that the altruistic narcissistic mother in this case plies, that they are so caregiving when there's a sort of alternate reality that's really happening. Deep down they're incapable of truly caring about their child, yet they sort of make everyone kind of go through this rigmarole that sort of says, oh no, you are, even though excuse my language, but even though I feel like shit by having you as my mother, you're the greatest mother in the world. And for those who might have a mother who has features of the altruistic narcissist and are faced with what to do about Mother's Day, and I think it's just, again, important to build a sense of validation in your own subjective experience of what she was like as a mother versus excuse me, how she claims she was like as a mother. There's likely going to be a very wide divergence. And so then, just a few things like approaches for a day like today, if you've had a narcissistic mother. The crux of it, I think, is to treat yourself as being as important as she was, because the legacy and some of the abusive consequences of having a narcissistic mother is that she gets to claim to be the most important person in that house, and if she detects anyone not treating her as such, there's going to be hell to pay. Severe hell to pay. But now that you're in the process of recovery and kind of extricating yourself from that reign of, I would say, terror and untruth, it can grow to feel incrementally safer to consider yourself equally important to her, to others, to just know your own center of gravity. And to that end, it could be great today to kind of think about something you might like to do that would make you happy, an activity, a sport, and to go ahead and pursue that and do that. Secondly, connecting with people who are important to you, who are not your mother, or maybe even not part of your family of origin. That can be very important and kind of nourishing to feel that sense of connection that doesn't carry with it the fraughtness that likely the relationship with the narcissistic mother would carry. And I also want to just impress that, it can often be difficult to exercise these tactics I'm describing of putting yourself first, finding connection, because, the residue of having been narcissistically abused is often, generally a sense of undeservedness and defectiveness. So if those kinds of feelings are emerging, and it proves hard to, do something you enjoy or reach out to someone to connect with them, I would also just urge some very well-deserved patience and as much as possible gentleness with yourself to kind of like respect where you are in the process of recovery, and if it means kind of like hanging out at home and just watching a movie or whatever, that's as good as anything else. Because one of the things I think that can be stolen in a childhood of narcissistic abuse is the capacity to be sort of kind to oneself. So sort of at base, it would be like cultivating an attitude of that kindness and approval towards yourself for who you are, rather than what you're doing. Well, I hope this was kind of a germane topic on this day, and I look forward to posting more videos. I hope people are continuing to be safe and healthy, and I will talk with you soon. Thanks.